Okay, and I need to, okay, and till little bit more. Okay, cool. It's fine, right? So we have dropped the table, right?
Yeah.
One thing to remember is that whenever we, there is no relation right now, right? But people are confused a lot of time whenever we are going to use DML command, right? DML.
Yeah.
DML is manipulation, right? Update. So we are giving the name that I want to
Yeah.
update something, right? Table name or
Yeah.
sequence name. But
Yeah.
and if I want to get data, DQL and then to, it will be like select star from public something, right? And then table name. So there is, and still I haven't used table, right? So in DML and DQL, we don't
Hmm.
use table sequence, right? These things we don't use, right? We use
Okay.
this thing in only DDL commands, right? Like I have used recently drop table, right? Because I
Acha.
can drop sequence also, right? I can drop low also. So that's why table, sequence, these things are used with DDL commands only. Cool. So this first thing needs to know. And now we have dropped the table, right? So we have to again create the users. So we have already created the table earlier, so we'll create it again. So create table, right? And then table name we need to provide, so it was users. And then I need to enter the data that I want to put, right? So it will be integer. Okay, my bad. It would be id and it should be int, and I want to make it primary key. Cool. This is the first thing. Then I want name. Okay, first name, and then it could be varchar of 255, right? And then it could be last name, again varchar of 255. Then I'm doing it in a fast way because we have already covered this in yesterday class, right?
Yeah.
So the next thing would be email id, right? Then email id and phone number, these two things we require now. So email and then varchar 100 would be enough, and then phone number, right? Phone again varchar. Why we are taking varchar? Because we don't want to deal with plus and then all those things, right? So that's
Okay.
it. So if I make this in this way, we have created the table, right? Yesterday.
Oh.
In this way only we have created the table yesterday, right?
Yeah.
But the wrong thing that happened with it was that I can duplicate the email ID and phone number, right?
Okay.
So I want to add a constraint. Oh shit! I'm unable to go up. Cool, no issues then. Okay, so we have created this table right now, and I want to check the users, right? It's similar to the last day, yesterday that we have done, right? So let's insert again. Try to insert into. Okay, let's see first users, because there are two things that we need to know. User, so we'll see another example now, then we'll move back and try to add constraint earlier on while creating a table. So first thing is that it is non-nullable id, right? And then these things, these two values, I will try to add the same data and see whether it will be, I will be able to enter or not. Insert
Okay.
into public users values and one, and then QA, and then I left it empty, and then email kishore@gmail.com, and phone number would be +91, and random. Cool. Okay, so this is the first entry that we have done, right? So we are not going
Oh.
to check it because we have already seen it in yesterday class. So let's
Yeah.
enter key, right? So now if I'll try to check the entries in my table, so what will happen? Oh, my bad. So there are two Kishore, right? With the same, every details is same. I don't want this. Cool. So what I can do is that I want to make sure that every user of mine should be a unique, right? Then what I can do, I can use the alter command, because I need to alter the, so this would be an alter
Okay.
command, right? Because I need to add a constraint. It's a database level item, right?
Yeah.
So I will alter the table. It's, and again when I want to alter is a DDL command, right? Because I'm whenever I'm making a change on the structure, then I'm
Okay.
using DDL command. And we know that while we are using DDL commands, we need to use the structure name, right? So the structure that we are going to use is right now table, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing we'll do alter table. Cool. Till here we know that why we have written it and which table we want to update users, right? Clear till now? Nothing new?
Yeah.
Then what we want to do? We want to add a constraint, right? Let me write it with constraint. Cool. We want to add a constraint, like, and now we need to give a name of the constraint. Unique user, unique email ID. Cool. This is the constraint name that we have given, and then we will use unique and then email. Cool. This is the column. This is the type of constraint that we are using. This is the column name that we are using. Cool. Now what is happening? That it will say that okay, you cannot apply the unique index, and the reason is
Okay.
there are already data that is exist in the table which does not allow entering the unique constraint, because it's already having the data, right? So
Okay.
unique constraint failed before even creating. So if you want to add any constraint, you must make sure that there are no data available that violates that constraint in your table.
Acha.
This is something we see during the production, right? Because when we add a constraint, we don't usually check these things. This is something we learn during the production environment. So you are learning through me, then it's cool. So now what I need to do is I need to delete, right? And again, delete
Okay.
DDML command, right? So no table will be written. Users, their ID equals to 2, right? Delete it. Now if we'll check, our table will be having only one row, right?
Acha, so in production also, these duplicate rows we can identify and we can delete on the
Yes,
live server
that's
also.
why
Acha.
there is an interview question, very popular interview question, that delete duplicates from a table, and then they
Acha.
will provide you the columns where you will find, I mean, using which you can find that which rows are duplicate. Like for example, they will say okay, duplicate the rows which have the email ID and
Hmm.
preserve the smaller ID, right? A smaller
Oh.
primary key. That's what they say. So we can order by, and then whenever we find more than one, then we will delete the ones that are greater than, right? So one will be preserved
Acha.
and two will be deleted. So this is the one of the most commonly asked interview questions of database.
Acha.
So let's remove this. See, that's why every interview question, I mean, not at the early stages, but in later stages, you will
Hmm.
understand that every interview question makes sense. So these are the interview
Hmm.
questions are something that one requires during the live or during work or live issue, maybe raised if one don't know of certain topics. So that's why
Okay.
all interview questions have some logic behind it. It's not like randomly they ask questions, right? In a coding,
Hmm.
there might be a chance, but not in database or Java or this Spring or Spring Boot or design patterns. All of
Hmm.
them are required and necessary for daily life work.
Hmm.
Okay, let's move further. So we have deleted it, right? So again we need to write. So okay, so let's check. Okay, I just forgot. Okay, there's no users. Okay, users. Cool. So again, there is no unique constraint over here, right? So let's add again. So we have seen that we need to add alter. Then we need to use this table. I can add a schema and I can even leave that. There is no issue. And then what I need to do, add constraint, right? And then constraint name, unique email constraint, and then unique which constraint I need to put and which column I need to put this constraint on, right? Now I have entered this, right? Now I will check my users table. Please describe my users table now. Now you will see earlier it was just primary, right? Now there is another unique constraint. And one more thing one needs to know, that unique constraint also use a binary tree index, right?
Hmm.
It is inside the indexes. Again, the reason is same. For primary key also we need to check, right? The primary key should not exist,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
The primary key, whenever I write the primary key, so primary key constraints are a combination of two constraints. One constraint is it should be non-nullable, another constraint it should be unique, right? So that's why
Okay.
whenever I write primary key, these two items were already there, and that's why it calls primary key constraint consists of a unique constraint as well. That's why primary key is here already, right? B tree with index.
Okay.
And when I add a unique constraint, then it need to check, right? Whenever I will add email ID now, then it will check whether that ID exists or not. Again, the same concept. If I have 100 million records, then if I'm going to linearly search 100 million records, it's going to take an hour. With the use of fastest system or resources that is available today, and we don't have 1 hour, right, for a single entry. So that's why we require index. We require a technique so that we can verify that this particular thing exists already or not. So index is the thing that we have in our database to verify or to find whether a data exists or not, right? So that's why unique constraint is created when we are adding constraint. I haven't created indexes, right? We will see in the index lectures that we can create. I mean, it is constraint, right? I mean, this is the name that I have provided, but over here it's a unique constraint. I have used unique over here, right? So I have used
Yeah.
constraint. So B tree, but it's inside the B tree, right? Indexes section. We can even
Uh,
create an index and that will be visible over here as well, right? But it has automatically generated. We have just added a constraint and index has been created because this index internally requires, sorry, this constraint internally requires an index, right? So let's move forward. Do you understand till now, right? Or you have some
Acha,
doubt?
you are saying that index has been created for both these keys.
Index has been created because the thing is, if my email ID, I have put on email ID, right?
Yeah.
So if I try to enter, see, insert the same query that I have used earlier to insert the table, insert inside the table this thing, right? This thing we have used earlier, right? But if I try to enter this again, then I will get an error that okay, duplicate key value violates unique constraint. And this is the constraint name, right? This constraint name and this constraint name are fine, same, right? So that's why we should give a proper name of a constraint so that we will know that okay, this due to this is a constraint, unique email constraint. That's why it failed, because we'll get this as an error. Cool. So it's
Okay.
saying that email ID Kishore already exists, right? So what it
Okay.
has done, we have two rows, right? We have two rows. Okay, only one row, right? So it has matched the data that I wanted to enter, this Kishore at the Gmail, with this, right? If let's suppose there are 100 million records, it will go and verify with each 100 million records, right? It would be hard. So we want something to make this matching process faster. So that would be index in the database. There is nothing which can make this thing faster than index. So it has created
Acha.
already index.
Acha, it is using a B tree indexing for searching the record. That's what you are saying.
Yes, yesterday
Ah.
I have told that B-tree is the default index, right?
Acha, now I understood. Ah.
Okay, cool. Let's move further. Now we know that we cannot enter the same email ID, right?
Yeah.
So what we can do is we can just insert some other. So Naresh is my first student and MK. And what was this? The third value? Name,
Email.
email ID. Okay. Naresh@gmail.com, right? But the thing is, this value over here, right? We we know that this value can also be duplicate, right now.
Duplicate. Yeah.
But let me just remove it because we don't want it. We will add a constraint later on. Cool. So I have inserted it, and we can add a constraint on phone as well, right? So let me check the name of the column first. Okay, it's phone, right? So it should be unique, right? So alter table public users and add constraint.
So the only way of removing this duplicacy is adding a unique constraint primary key to make it unique.
To make sure that no duplicate data exists in your column, you need to add a unique constraint.
Acha. Okay.
And primary key should never be duplicate. So when you add the primary key, and primary key should never be null. So these two nullable, and the unique constraint is already added by default if you use the primary key constraint.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move further. Alter table public user, add constraint unique and unique phone. Just, and then I'll use unique and then phone. Cool. So the table has been altered. Then now there has been 3 constraint, right? 3 indexes over here. Cool. So this is the one thing, right? But right now also, if I try to select data from users, you will see, okay, let me demonstrate first. Insert into public users values, and then 1, okay, 3, and then Naresh, Ashish and Gautam and Ashish at the rate, okay, let me just put null over here, right? And phone number also null. It is inserted, right? Null and null values. But if a user does not provide me his email ID or phone number, how will I be able to deliver a product? If I am a Swiggy, how will I deliver the order? If I am Amazon, that how will I deliver the package? And even if I'm something else, even if I'm Jeevan Sathi, then how will I make sure that you get an intimation that your payment has gone through, right? You have bought some membership. So this
Okay.
email ID, I mean, I need to know how to contact a particular user, right? So email ID or phone number, one of it is mandatory. Now it may depend on the use case of a particular business whether they want phone number to be mandatory or the email ID to be mandatory. Some places, some cases might require address also made to be mandatory, right? So what do I want? Then I want that, okay, this table, this column that I have, it should not have a null value, right? So the same thing I'll add, right? Alter table, same thing, public users, right? Same, because I want to order and I want to. And now there is one thing that, let me show you first the users, right? See, the thing is, when I want to do a table level work, right? Table level work as in I want some data to be unique, right? I want the data. When I say that unique phone number should be unique, right? This phone should be unique. Then I'm talking about the data, right? The data that I'm about to enter, right? So that should be unique. Then when I'm trying to enter data, then these constraints should go and check first before entering the data, right?
Yeah.
This is the first thing. Another thing is that, but the data is dependent on another data, right? Whether it has existed first or not, right? It's not like it's a permanent thing. It should be, I mean, on the very first entry, nothing will be checked, right? Because there is no data, right? And based on the data, the constraint will work, right? So this unique constraint, and there will be another more constraint, like there are check constraint that we'll see in the later sections. Then these constraints work, or the foreign key, and there are multiple constraints we'll see in the later way, that these constraint works with the data only, right? For foreign key constraint also, the data, there should be a data in another table that we should map. If it does not exist, then we will throw an error. So what happens then, if our data, if we are making changes on the data level, right? So we directly do this alter that, okay, the command that we have seen, the alter table, and then we just add constraint, right?
Okay.
Because we are working with,
Table level. Yeah.
we want to add a constraint on the data, right?
Yeah.
But with this null checks, right? Null checks is binded to the column, right? And why does this exist? I mean, I want you to know the difference. I mean, there are two types of check. One type of check is based on the column, right?
Okay.
It will be validated whether it has a data or don't have a data, right? It has to be validated. Another
Okay.
type of constraint are the constraint in which we check the data only, right? We check the data based on the another data that we have.
Okay.
So there are two types of constraint that we use. And when there is a column level data, right? These are called column level data. Defaults also column level data, right? Whether there are some other data or not, it does not matter. We will check whether the value exists or not, right? It will be checked. So these are called column levels data, and it is very obvious in this. If you will check this, then also there are these two columns, right, over here. So it says that it's a column level item, that the ID check has been added to a column level, right? So I want to add this thing on a column. Okay, so we can say that, okay, we add this unique constraint or the check constraint also on a column, right? But the thing is that is verified with the data that we have, right? That checks is verified against the data that already has. And over here it's a column level item that this phone number column, this column phone number cannot be null, right? It be null or can it not be null, right? So that's what we want to do, right? So
Okay.
if there are cases in which we want to add a particular constraint on a column level,
Hmm.
not the data inside the column, right? Then we will
Hmm.
do this alter table because we want to add on the table, right? Then public users, right? Till here it will be same. Then it will be alter column.
Okay.
Cool. Earlier what we have done, alter table public users, add constraint, right?
Okay.
Over here we want to do alter column, then the column name we need to provide, and the column name would be okay, we want email id to be non-null, right? Email. Cool. We want email to be non-null, and then we'll set it not null. Cool. Okay, so email right now contains a null value, so we need to drop that thing. So select star from public users, so okay, not drop, delete from public users where id equals to 3. Oh my bad, 3. Cool. So now I can do again alter table public users, alter column, right? And then column name would be email, right? And then
Hmm.
set not null. Okay, then I'll say okay, please describe me users table. Now you will see email id has a not nullable, right? Email, we cannot enter the email id null. We'll try to enter null email id now. Okay, email, it's violate the not null constraint, right?
Hmm.
So the same thing we should do with our phone number as well, right? Alter table and public users, alter column, phone, set not null, right? Now we'll see again users, then all three columns are not null, right? We should make this
Hmm.
first name also not null, last name is cool, but we're not going to do extra things, right? So till now we have seen three checks, right? And now we need to enter data, right? We need to check that, okay, if email, for email id, if I'll add ashish@gmail.com, but the phone number is null, then also I'll get an error that column phone violates null constraint, right?
Hmm.
So now I can add, now I need to let you know one thing, that if I enter empty, right? So we
Hmm.
have just ignored the null constraint. Empty will still be acceptable, right? So if you are
Hmm.
working with the Java class, so don't ever, and if if you have a instance variable, right? Because instance variable are mapped with the columns in the table. So never ever assign any default values to your column, because if it is null, then it will provide a constraint error, right? But if you provide default value empty
Hmm.
string, then it will be, the data will not throw a null pointer exception, right? Or null constraint, right? So that thing we need to know. And again, now we need to drop the table, delete the row. Okay, delete from public users where id equals to 3.
So you're saying in Java we have to initialize that instance variables to empty string instead of default nulls.
We don't have to. If we do, then it will allow inserting the data, right? Inserting a row into the database, into the table. What we have just seen now, if I'll try to hit it, it will insert the value into the database, right? Into the table.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
don't want, right? We want the phone number to be there.
Acha.
So we don't allow it, right? I mean, you are just taking it otherwise. We should make sure that it should be never we should make sure that whenever we are writing our Java class, then it should be never public string name, okay, and then over here is phone, right? Its phone equals to this. We should never
Ah,
do this. It should be like
understood.
this
Okay.
only.
Okay.
By
Okay.
default it will be null,
Yeah.
because instance
The-
variable don't get default values, right? And also it is not the primitive data type string, so it will never get any default values, so it will be null. Where if this value is null and over here then it will be null, then null constraint will be there, right?
Okay.
uh, all right, so where were we? Okay, null constraint we have seen. So let's insert the value now. Plus 91 random, and we have the data, right? So right now we have created our user, right? Select star from public and users. Cool. So this thing we have seen that okay, we have entered the user and this data is enough. Okay, see, there are things that every table usually have, right? And these things are created date and modified date, right?
Okay.
So we must know that these two things should always be in your database, or sorry, in your table, because it will be there always, right? So we should make sure that we have these two columns, right?
Okay.
So over here we can ignore these things, because it's not mandatory to for now we can ignore this, because it's not mandatory for us to add these two columns. But the thing is, in your production environment, every table
Mhm.
and every table will be having a created date and modified date.
Acha, extra two columns will always be there.
Yes, because we wanted to know when this data has been created and when this data has been updated.
Acha, I
Have you
mean,
have you
we
never worked with your production? Have you never seen your production database?
no, no,
No.
yeah,
You
no, I was
mentioned you
not.
have 4 years of experience.
I have seen, but I don't remember so closely that.
Okay. Have you never created a microservice from scratch or anything
No, no.
in
Long back, I have created to proof of concept. I have done
POCs or
somewhere.
freshers? I mean,
Yeah, no, for just to demonstrate that microservice communication is possible, I have done POC long back. I don't remember anything.
so see, microservice communication, why do you require database in microservice communication? You can just transfer data from one end to another directly without using any database. You can just take a class and randomly enter the data if you are doing the POC, right? Why you require the database to be involved over there?
No, no, for microservices, I'm telling. Databases, I have
You
not
want
worked.
a microservice to communicate with B microservice, right?
Yeah,
So when we
for
say
that,
two microservices are communicating with each other, then they are sharing data, right?
yeah, that is REST API only we communicate,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Using
okay.
REST
REST
API.
in REST API, you are communicating, right? Then
Yeah,
why did you created a database? You mentioned that you, while doing the POC of intercommunication between the microservices, you have seen the data or created the database.
yeah, that was because there was some requirement for non persistent communication between these two microservices.
Okay, okay. But the thing
Because they
is,
have to resume the states after some they have to resume the states whenever they are down, like microservices can be down anytime, so they have to resume the states. So they both are using some common database to get their state from.
okay, okay, all right. I mean, it's very. I mean, okay. It should not be a POC. It should. It. Okay, cool. So okay. So what we are going to do? We can add in the users table. We can add the two columns at all, right? So if you want to add the column also, then it's alter, right? Because we are altering the structure of a table, right? So alter
Okay.
table, public users, right? Nothing new. Then I want to add column, right?
Okay.
Earlier I wanted to add a constraint, right?
Yeah.
But now I wanted to add a column, right? And then
Okay.
I can give the name of the column, the created date and date, right? Now if I'll see, oh my bad, I have a created date column, right, with the type of date, right? So if I'll see, check the value, then it will be empty from public users. No, it's empty, right? So I will update public users and set created date. Okay, the spelling of the column is wrong, but cool, no issues, we can work with it. Created date equals to now, and there is an error, right? So what can I do? What is an error is, right, date. Because
Yeah,
now
update.
if I'll just do select now, it will give the date, right? So I can do current timestamp, right? There are multiple things that we can check, use directly, right? So I can use now, I can use current timestamp, then it will give us this data, right? And this data will be have been already inserted in this table. Public users, now you will see the date, today's date have been added, right? So we will do alter table and public users, add column or modified date and date, right? And then also update public users, set modified date equals to, now I can say current and timestamp, right? It's updated still, right? If I'll see, another column is there, modified date, and I can select from public users, right? So modified date and created date are same, and that will be the case when you initially created a user, right?
Okay.
Okay, let's move. Okay, so we have entered 3 users, we have added constraints in our column, cool. So let's create another table, right? Another table, create table. Now let's say products, cool.
Okay.
So in products, now I wanted to make sure that whenever I create, okay, so the very first thing, if I wanted to create a table, so I want to create this, and then I will add id, right? And it would be int and the primary key, right? Basic one, right? The product name I require, it will be varchar, and it will be of 255, let's take this default. And then there will be description, product description, and we can make sure that product has 1000 characters of description as well, not more than 1000 characters. So this is the thing that we require, right, for a product, right? So over here, now we can even see that if I want to add something, right? Price if I want to add, right? And decimal we have seen over here, right? 10,2. Yesterday we have seen what is decimal, right? So we can directly use int as well, because it is not required to use the decimal, because decimal usually takes a lot of space and time as well for computation. So we can use int and all, but we are just using it just to make sure we know that this we can use the reset types, right, again. So this is the first thing, and okay, oh shit, yeah, okay, no issues. Again, I'm okay, so let's leave this over here, right? Okay, and again I'm going to write this thing, create table, because I wanted to add few more things, right? Let's remove this, create table, products, and id and primary key, right? Then I want name, right? I want name varchar 255, right? And it should be not null, Cool. And I'm not altering the table. During the creation of table, I'm adding the null constraint. So I want product ID. Okay, ID is already there, so they have the constraints unique and cool. So another thing is description. Description. It can be var it can be 1000, it can be null. There is
Yeah.
no not required to be not null. And okay, and now there is price, right? Okay, so there is price, and I can use okay decimal and 10, my bad. I can use price decimal 10 comma 2.
No, decima you have again written. L, right? L.
Okay, okay, cool, right. So right, this thing is there, right? But I also want one thing, that whenever I create a product, right, whenever I want to create a product, I want to add one thing. Should I allow a product with negative price? Should I allow a product with negative price?
No.
Right? But whatever we have seen is unique index right now, till now, and not nullable, right? And the primary key. And primary key is nothing but a unique key constraint plus the not null constraint,
Not
right?
null. Yeah.
But the thing is, if I want to say, make sure that something happens, right? Something happens with my particular column. So what I can do is, I can make sure that this price, right, I will say that okay, please check that my price should be greater than equals to 0, right? Or should be greater than 0. Why 0 price also? I'm not going to sell anything, right? So this thing price also I have added, and then create a date, create a date and date and modified date and let's okay, where did I pass
Current.
this L? Line 1 L. Okay, I don't know where, from where we get this L. Let's just copy paste it again, and okay. Okay, from where did we get this L? Not null. Okay, completed, worker completed. Okay, where is this L? Line number 1. I think something I have left over, where what I have deleted. Cool, no issue. Then there is issue with copy pasting it, so I have to do it line by line. So 1 line, and then let's add. Oh, we need to write it again. No worries. Create table products, and then id in primary key, then name varchar 255 not null, then description varchar 1000 it can be null, then price decimal 10 comma 2 check price should be greater than 0, and created date modified date.
Current date it should be, right?
Come again.
Current time it should be a modified date.
Modified date is requires to be date only, right? Why time?
Okay. Okay.
So date and time also we can save, right? There is not like we'll get only date. So
Okay.
we'll see the product table that we have created. Alright, so this is the thing. Right now id will be the primary key, so it will be not null by default. We have added the not null keyword, right? So in this class only we have seen two ways to create a null constraint, right? One while creating with a database, while creating a table, and another one is after creation of database, then we will be using alter, right? Then
Okay.
over here you can see the indexes, right? Indexes primary key id only is there because it was primary key is a combination of null constraint and a unique constraint, so that's why unique constraint requires b-tree index. So we have the b-tree index, and then we have the check constraint, right, that we have added in our, right, we have added check and the price, right? So if I try to insert into public dot products products, cool. So let's id equals to 1, then product name, let's say we are trying to sell lipstick. Okay, it's Zomato, no issue. Zomato has Instamart also, not Instamart, Blanket. So let's say we want to sell lipstick, right? And the description can be empty. And okay, let's add glossy lipstick we are selling, and the price, okay, the price, let's say -10. Cool. And created date now, updated date now. Cool. Near one, oh my bad, wrong query I was trying to execute. I want to add values, right, in the table. So they see violates check constraint, right? Price.
Yeah.
So the thing is I cannot add -10, right? So let's try to add 0, again constraint, right? So let's take the same thing and let's try to sell it for 1 rupee. It's allowed, right? So this is why we add check constraint. Public, okay, products is there, public products, cool. So it is 1 rupees, right? And the decimal value 2 we have selected, right? You can see it over here. So let me update it because no one sells anything for rupee 1. So update public products set price equals to 100, at least it should be 100. Okay, what's the error with this?
Update.
Do I need to add the from, or what's the error? See, we have already seen a lot of times, right, in this class only, in this session only, using the update. Please tell me what's the issue with this. Update is a DDL see, I mean, we need to know how to check. Update is a DML command, right? So we don't need to write update table, right? Because a table we require only with DDL commands. This is DML command, so we are not going to
Update column name we have to write. Update price column from public set price equal to.
come again. Update
Column name. What was that column name? Price, huh? Price.
update price
Yeah.
without what?
From public dot products set price equal to 100.
2 time price.
Okay.
See, in this session only we have seen alter and this update multiple times. See, try to recall. I mean, you are 4 years experience developer, right? And you are developer, not even QA or someone else. See, your thing is wrong. See, from the upfront start is wrong, right? You need to mention what you want to update, right? So you want to update a table. So update, and then the table. What is the table? Public products, right? This thing is required. It's the mandatory item. We are not going to write multiple times prices, right? This is the first thing. Then I want to set over here. Set what I have done over. See, set, and then if I'll do the price and if I'll do the 100, what is the issue? What was the issue with the earlier commands? It is very basic, right? Update and the products table, set price 100, and we can add the where clause also later on.
Okay. From we have used the
Okay,
above
from
one.
we have used over here, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, with this, the spelling of update is wrong.
Oh.
UDPATE.
Acha, acha. Oh, okay.
And over here also the spelling is wrong, right?
Acha.
That's why I'm
Oh.
using this terminal only, because if you want to remotely connect with the server,
Oh,
then
okay.
we need to make sure that we are used to see these kind of things, right? So it was a correct statement from the very start, but it's just a typo. And
Oh.
it is showing over here as well, right, that this line number 1, this U,
Oh,
There is an error from the line number 1. So one
much.
needs to know how to read the errors as well, right?
Oh,
Otherwise, I mean, it would be
hmm.
freshers
Right.
learn these things, right? But experienced people need to know how to read from the consoles. All
Hmm.
right. So right now, if we check our Zomato, we have Zomato. So we have no relation. Oh, okay. We have two relations, right? So we have users and we have products, right? So let's check products again, whether our is okay. Credit date can be null. Okay, our price should be not null, right? Because without price also we cannot sell anything. So alter table public products, alter column price set not null, right? It's just database is the easiest thing that exists for a developer, because it's just like having conversation, right? Alter table
Hmm.
public products, alter column price, and set not null. Cool. And now if I'll do this, then we can see, okay, not users, my bad, products. We can see that the price has become not null, right? Not nullable. So date and these things also not nullable, but cool, no issues with this. It doesn't have anything. Okay, price ID, cool, it's cool. Let's create a table, orders, right? Then we can have our foreign key constraint also, we can check. So
Acha.
now we are going to see how many checks we have seen. We have seen,
Column,
we have
only
seen,
column checks.
okay, wait. So there will be checks on the columns only.
Yeah.
So one, we have checked not null constraint till now. We have checked unique constraint 2. We have seen primary key constraint 3. We haven't seen foreign key constraint now, but we have seen the check constraint, right? So 5 we have seen, right?
Okay.
So now we have to see two more constraints. One is default constraint that we have already seen, right? With the null, I have seen that there is another data that has been visible. So foreign key constraint and default constraint, two constraints are left, and we will see these two as well. So just to make sure that we have something for a foreign key, right? So let's create public. Okay, my bad. Create table orders, right? And then integer, oh my bad, id, oh my bad, id int primary key. And then see over here, when I'm using the foreign key constraint, right? So while
Hmm.
creating the data also, we can create the foreign key constraint. Later on also we can add foreign key constraint, but during creation of data also we can add the foreign key constraint.
Hmm.
So if I want that, okay, that the user, I want the user id, right? The column type will be user id, right? And I can say that, okay, if my data will be a user id, then I want foreign key constraint. Okay, wait, there is two things that we can see, we can check. First is, I can just mention that there should be a foreign, forigent, okay, foreign key should be there, right? And that would be id, and I want to make sure that I am references, right? So this is the foreign key I'm adding, and this is the name of the column, right? And I'm saying please reference the table. And what will be the name of the table? Users, right? And users id, is the name of the column, right? So if I try to enter this, right, this table has been created, right? Now if I'll try to see the table, so how many columns will be there? Hello?
Yeah, in users,
Oh my bad, not users, orders.
in orders,
How many columns will be there?
two.
And only one. Have I created anything? I have just added a constraint, right? This is a constraint. Like when we add a check constraint, any columns will be created? No.
Acha, okay.
So I mean, there are multiple ways, right? One way is that you don't have to have a column, right, to make sure that foreign key constraint exists.
Acha, okay. Foreign key is also a constraint, you are saying.
Yes, for I. Oh, what are you seeing over here?
Ah, okay.
Cool. Okay.
Okay.
See, foreign key is a concept, right? Why we use foreign key? As a constraint. What is a
Mm-hmm.
foreign key? Foreign key is a key, a normal column of a normal column of a table, which is the primary key of another table. That is a foreign key, right? So there
Okay.
are multiple ways to create a foreign key. One is I can just directly add a foreign key, and without
Mm.
even adding that particular integer, that particular not integer, that particular uh, data type, right? This is the one
Okay.
way, right? But usually you will never find code written this way. So I'm going to drop the table public orders. So again I will create table orders. Cool. So I will add int, oh my bad, id int primary key, right? This is primary key constraint. Now what I will do, that instead earlier what we have done, we haven't added a column, right? We just made sure that the foreign key constraint is there without
Mm.
any data, right, for a
Mm.
foreign key. So right now I'll do the opposite. I'll say that okay, I require a user ID, right, of integer type. Cool. And I will say that it is a foreign key, FORIGNKEY. Cool. And then I'll say okay, so the user ID that we have should reference users table. Cool. And in the users table it should follow the ID. Alright. So if I'll just add this, okay, FOREIGN, the spelling is correct. Okay, the spelling is correct of this thing. Okay, still I got an error. Okay, alright. Okay, can you tell me why this error we are facing? Because you also need to know, I mean, it's not like you need to know how to debug as well, right?
Foreign key of references user ID is correct. Mhm.
Okay, just try to read the error and then try to make sense. Whether can you, what thing we should, I mean, what changes we require to make.
Okay.
I mean, are you finding something duplicate over here?
Duplicate that user ID.
Okay, so you are saying that user ID you're finding it duplicate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'll if I'll make sure that okay, I have a integer, this thing, I mean, from here to here it is required, right?
Uh,
And then the foreign key, if I try to remove and just keep the references, and if I'll try to check, okay, my orders table, now you have a user ID and now you has a foreign key constraint as well.
automatically it tells them.
No,
References
why
word it has
automatically? We
taken.
have added the reference, right?
Yeah,
That
references
this
keyword it has
integer,
taken.
okay, this integer should be the user ID of users table. So this is not automatic, this we have mentioned, right,
Yeah.
that this should be, I mean, it should be in this way only, that this integer whatever we are entering, it should exist in users table ID column. So it's a foreign key constraint. Over here what we were doing when we are getting an error, that we are we are saying the foreign key again, right? Over here also we are saying user ID, over here we are also saying user ID, right? Then we are saying, we are shouting, okay, it's a foreign key as well, right? So it does not make sense. It was making sense in the earlier command where we don't need to, where we wasn't adding this data in our column, right?
Acha.
Cool. So let's just remove this, and all right, so drop the table as well. So drop public orders, right? Okay, is orders table exist? Okay, drop table, my bad. Drop is a DDL command, right? So we'll need to add, okay, orders. We have dropped the order, right? Right now if we try to see, there are only two relations, right? Again, let's create now the relations. So first thing that we are going to do is create, okay, we are already more than an hour, no issue. Let's just complete it in a fast manner. But create table orders, cool. And ID integer primary key constraint we have added, and then I want user ID references users table ID, cool. Now till now we are clear, right?
Yeah.
Now let's now should I add, okay, let's add over here only. So product ID also I require, right? To sell product ID references products and then ID, cool. And then I want, okay, let's add the price as well, the amount, and let's take it decimal, and then 10 and 2 only, and let's add check constraint, right? And then okay, it should be amount should be greater than 0, right? Again, it should not be null, right? And what else we know? Want created date and modified date, cool. References product ID, oh, my bad. What's the issue over here?
Here that table.
I haven't entered correct data, right? First thing is user ID should be int, and oh my bad again, and the product ID should also be an int, right? I say okay, please create a column product, a product
Ach.
ID. Make sure that the value should be in the products table ID column, but which data type I want in my orders table, integer, right? Now the table has been created, right? So I mean, it should not be like you should be able to understand, right? At minute detail you want to find out, but the thing is you should start at least, right?
Yeah, we should start.
If you start today, then in the 1 or 2 years you will be able to get it. I mean, I think you don't have experience while debugging or checking logs, and checking logs is one of the most required skill for a developer, right? Because
Okay.
if you join any firm, then checking the errors, checking the logs, it's the most important item, and to find which errors and logs or warnings I need to avoid looking at, because
Okay.
otherwise there might be a chance that I look at 10 issues that already exist in our system. Okay, let's check our orders table. So now ID looks fine. Okay, so there are one thing that obviously there, that these 3 columns should be not null, right?
Not null. Yeah.
Okay, but the thing is if I try to enter insert into orders and values, then 1, right? And then null, and then null, and then okay, let's take 1 right now, right? Then now, and then now, right? We are able to enter that data, right? One thing. And let's say primary key, let's change the primary key, right? And user ID, let's enter 7, and now we try to run. So now it is violating the null constraint, right? Foreign key constraint. It's violating the foreign key constraint now. See, but for null it don't violate the foreign key constraint. That's again, there is a thing that one remember, that we have to add even if we have a foreign key constraint, because people think we have a foreign key constraint and in the user table we don't have any null value. right? User, there is no user ID with null value, so we cannot enter the null. But that's not the case. We need to make sure that these two columns also is not nullable, right? Alter column, okay, my bad. Alter table public orders, alter column user ID set not null. Constraint null value, okay. Select asterisk from public orders. Now you are getting right what I'm doing over here. You're understanding right whatever I'm doing.
Okay.
I mean, I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, if we declare it as if we are making that constraint as foreign, it is we should also make it. We should add the constraint null.
Yes, we have already covered it, right? In orders, alter column.
I mean, by default, like primary key, it will not be not null. That's what you're saying, right?
Okay, I think today you're not fully awake. The thing is, user ID, right? User ID is a foreign key constraint. We have a user ID of a foreign key constraint, right? What does
Okay.
it mean to have a foreign key constraint? The thing is, I have value 1 2 3, right? So
Okay.
if I try to insert any value apart from 1 2 3, then it won't allow, right? What is a foreign key? Foreign key constraint is simply that whatever I am inserting in this column, right? In orders tables user ID, whatever I am inserting in over here, it should be in this column also, right? In ID column of user table. That's what it's saying, right?
Okay.
That
Okay.
this
Yeah.
foreign key constraint user ID is referencing user ID, our user ID. Our user ID is
Okay.
referencing user ID, users table ID column, right? This is
Yeah.
what it's saying. So when people think that as cause there is no null over here, we cannot enter null over here as well. That's why we don't require null check. But I have just shown you that it is possible to even enter the null check, right?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why the null constraint is required over here.
Ah, understood.
Table, alter table public orders, and alter column product ID set not null. Cool. Now we have made sure that it is not null. So
Hmm.
if we check the orders, then this is the data, and just check the data whatever we have in the orders from public users. Okay, so okay, users, no orders. I want orders. So empty, right? So let's insert the data. Insert into public orders values 1, user ID 1 exists, right? Product ID 1 exists, right? Amount,
Hmm.
let's say 100, right? And created it now, and this now as well, right?
Hmm.
So we can enter, right? And then the thing is, we require, so that means our user 1, which is Kishore, has ordered a lipstick of rupees 100. So now our user 1 is Kishore, then it's ordering product 2, right? But product 2 does not exist in our system. If I try to insert it, then there will be an error, right? Because there is no
Okay.
products exist in, there is no product with ID 2 in the product.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
need to insert into value, okay, insert into public dot products values, and then I will add 1, and let's say now we are going to sell bread, right? And let's say
Hmm.
brown bread, and then healthy, and then
Price.
price 50, and 50 point, because we are using numeric, right?
Hmm.
567, okay, 50.567 I'm trying to add. I have used 10.2, right?
Two.
10,
Yeah.
and let's see what will happen, right? So
Yeah.
now, and now, duplicate key, okay, primary key constraint failed, right? 2, insert it, right? Now we
Okay.
have entered 50.567, right? Let's see
Hmm.
what's the data that it has inserted. Public dot orders, oh my bad, products. 50.57. And what we have entered?
567. It's
567.
rounded up.
So it rounded off, right?
Mm.
67, it made it 757. But
Yeah.
the value is value saved is of only 2 decimal points after 0,
Oh.
right? 2 decimal point it will save, even if I'll do 5 6 7 7 8 8 9 9 2 2. So as soon
Mm.
as it finds the decimal, then it's going to save the two values after the decimal, regardless of how many
Mm.
digits it has. I'll try to enter inside it. Cool. And this is the loss, this is the lossy conversion, right?
Yeah,
If I
lossy.
want to
Yeah.
save if I want to save this value 50.567, if I'm a payments company, then I require 50.567, right?
Mm.
Because I'm not selling something, I'm dealing with the money. So if someone has charged someone
Mm.
49.3 49.33, right?
Mm.
49.033, then 49.433 rupees. So it should have this amount, right? 50.567 rupees available,
Mm.
not 50.57, right? Because I'm not
Mm.
selling anything, I'm a payments team. So I'm in the payments team and payment gateway, so I should make sure that everyone is getting the amount that they have left in their bank account. I'm not eating any money, not even in paise, right? In the third
Mm.
decimal values also, I'm not eating any money from any user. So that's why we use string for that, right? So where were we? Okay, so now we have this 2 also, right? So now, okay, so now if I try to hit this, then it will allow us, right? Because now the foreign key constraint is not failing, because 2 is a product ID, this product ID 2 exists right now. But
Mm.
if I try to make it 3, if my user if my user 2, that is Ashish, Naresh, if it tries to order product ID 2, then it's possible, right? Naresh can also buy bread. But
Mm.
if it's try to buy 3, something that does not exist, right? Does not
Mm.
exist, right? Because we don't have
Mm.
anything else apart from lipstick and bread.
Okay.
So this is one thing. And let's say that in our system, I mean, it's not something we can drop it later on, but I want to just show you this default section is empty right over here,
Mm.
right? So I want to make sure that if I'm not adding, why default is required, right?
Mm.
Because when I can make sure that if I'm adding any value in the table, right? For example, if I'm not adding any value, if I'm not providing any value for a particular column, then the default should be there, right, to insert.
Yeah.
So let's alter, because we have already created a table, right? So alter table public and users, sorry my bad, orders, right? Now the thing is, like nullable, it is not something that is dependent on the data, right, that already exists. We are not comparing data that already exists and doing all those things. This is a column level item, right? So we are
Yeah.
going to do alter column, right? And the column name
Yeah.
is, let's say, created date. Cool. And instead of created date, let's take modified date first. Modified date. Cool. So modified date I haven't provided, right? So I have taken modified date spelling. Let me check. Okay, modified DAT. Okay, cool. Modified date. So what I'm doing, I'm altering my table public orders, and I'm altering table this, right? Then I want to set default, right? And if I'll try to do this, okay, my bad.
The spelling.
FAUDEFAULT, right? So I have altered the table, right? So now again check the orders table. Cool. So now over here you can see the default value is now, right? And now will
Mm.
be, now is, if I check now, so over here you can check that 9:53:11 is there, right? And if I'll
Mm.
check now, then 17 is there, right? So
Mm.
now will is it's not constant, it will keep on changing, right? Whenever I don't enter anything, the now will be there. So okay, so now we have this. Now try to insert values, right? Insert into public orders and values, and then okay, now I don't know how many orders we have. Let's select first, check first how many orders we have. Orders, and we have 3 orders. Cool. So let's add 4th order. Insert into values and fourth order is there, and user ID should be first user is ordering, product order 1 also it's ordering. So product ID 1, amount let's say 100. Okay, first order is of 100 only, right? The created date now, right? Okay, now syntax error 4. Okay, my bad. Public, that's cool. See, now you can see one thing, that 4 I have, how many columns are there? 1 2 3 4 5 and 6 columns are there, right? How many values I have provided? One for
5.
one for ID, then another one for user ID,
Hmm.
another one for product ID, then
ID.
100 amount, and then created date now,
Yeah.
right? I haven't provided modified date, right? For
Yeah.
order number 4, then do this has been inserted. So let's select from public orders, let's check values, orders. So fourth value still have modified date, right?
Hmm.
And how it gets the modified date? By this default value, right?
Acha.
So we have seen all the constraints, right? So let's